Hello and welcome to my Contemporary Beliefs Project, Part 2, the class presentation. My name is Nick Johnson, and I'm doing mine on emotional intimacy. So, what exactly is it? Well, Wikipedia states it as an aspect of interpersonal relationships that varies in intensity from one relationship to another and from one time to another. So it's a connection between people, right? But that there are certain things that occur in order for that to take place, or that must occur, really. So there tends to be some pitfalls or enemies of emotional intimacy. And they tend to be past hurts. So, whatever, because we live in a fallen world, right? So, we can't walk through this world and not be affected by that. There are going to be people that have hurt us. Some way more deep than others, and that's something that needs to be navigated. Our own pride, thinking that can render us incapable of being emotionally intimate. So hard-hearted that you can't share. And then there's societal pressures. It is interesting to me because I'll get more into the societal pressures in a little bit when I talk about my interviews, but a big chunk came up about that. Societal pressures for men and women, like kind of like a gender based upon like the way society looks at, men have to act a certain way, women have to act a certain way, and that's kind of can block emotional intimacy among each other when it comes to relating. Now, an example, I think, of the type of in the male perspective of what can block or be a hindrance. I don't know if any of you remember that '70s show. Well, here's Red from that '70s show, and his idea, or his crabbiness, or his just being and always kind of manipulating situations, or to get what he wants in a way. So men are taught that, to be like, don't show your feelings, don't share your feelings. The very stoic sense of things, and then on the other side, another example of the how what the definition of kind of like what a man is or should be, is 007. You know, James Bond always, it's like the idea of, you know, he's open enough to get the girl to save the day, but closed off enough to where he doesn't get too deep. So he stays in the shallow water. Now on the other side, the female example, I thought of Murphy Brown. Now I know that this is like an 80s sitcom reference, but interesting how, you know, the dynamic of, you know, she's single woman, career driven, still has a family, but as far as being emotionally intimate, sharing feelings, there's a wall there, you know, cracking jokes or things of that nature. So a commonality to move on to my interviews. The idea, I interviewed three people, or four people in total. I interviewed one couple and then a couple other individuals. Now, it was interesting when I asked what is emotional intimacy. They all had the commonality of being honest, being open, trusting, and then those three legs of sort entered into vulnerability, which the vulnerability created the space to be emotionally intimate. And so that was really interesting to me, how all three of them had said that, and that also a commonality was that there was kind of a blurred line. A blurred line between physical intimacy and emotional intimacy, like how it's kind of been twisted in a way that our culture looks at physical intimacy as emotional intimacy, or how in our television shows and our movies, how it's just, and you really don't need to go to a movie or watch a television show without seeing physical intimacy around you, and how that kind of intertwines throughout society. But the emotional intimacy piece, the part of being open, being honest, and being fully known, you know, those men that do that are looked upon as weak. Those, like, men are taught not to cry or to show emotion, and then, you know, women are not supposed to keep things stuffed in or whatever. And it was interesting how that kind of played a huge role in all of this. But I think one thing that I took away from all this is that in order for all in order for you to become or come to a place where emotional intimacy can happen, that line of going back to this slide here of dealing with past hurts, dealing with pride, and dealing with or navigating the social pressure will lead to emotional intimacy, where a place where you can be honest and be open and be trusting. And so I guess this was a huge thing for me because it's often I am one of those people that has gone out there, that puts myself out there, that opens up to people, and then has that been, and then have gotten hurt. So there's been a process that I have gone through to lead me to this place. And knowing that taking what I have learned, and then finding the way to minister to those who are where I am at or where I was, but the ability to just sit and listen. I think that's been the biggest takeaway from this assignment. And I know that there are so many things that this is an area that I don't know if everybody arrives. Not that everybody, like, I don't know if you arrive. I think this is like being emotionally intimate is something that you are constantly growing in, because of navigating the hurts and pushing back the pride, and that's how, because we're all at different stages, and we all, like, it's kind of a 2 steps forward, 1 step back type of thing, and we're not going to be perfect until we get to heaven. And so I think that the biggest thing to take away from this, or the biggest thing that I have taken away from this, is to love messy people and know that you can be a mess yourself. And you don't have to be perfect. So anyway, I know that's probably sounds like rambling, but I wanted you to, I hope that you enjoyed this, and thank you so much for listening. My name again is Nick Johnson, and I am super happy to be presenting this in front of you. So thank you, and be blessed.